On today's Question of Faith, what is it like to convert to the Catholic faith? Hey there, everybody. This is Question of Faith. I'm Mike Hayes. I am the Young Adult Ministry Director here in the Diocese of Cleveland.
And I'm Father Damien Ference, the Vicar for Evangelization.
And I'm Christy Cabaniss, the Director of Missionary Discipleship.
Yes, you are.
Yes, I am.
Welcome back.
Thanks for having me back, guys.
So you have done a lot of work with RCIA candidates and those who are entering into the church from another religious faith.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about your experience.
It backs all the way up to my own sort of reversion. I was baptized as a Roman Catholic, but not properly raised in the faith. And I came into the church through a process. And then whenever I got into ministry in the church, RCIA was always one of the things that I wanted to be part of. So I sought that out, engaged with it, and ended up at my first parish that I worked at, where I was coordinating the process for folks and working with them coming into the church, and have continued to do that. And I also did it at my job with the Archdiocese of Baltimore. I was the coordinator of sacramental formation there, so RCIA was part of that too.
Right.
So,
very cool.
Yeah, I've had a lot of experience around.
Yeah, cool. And what experience have you had with this?
I was the director of RCA at my first parish assignment.
Okay.
That was one of my charges. So, yeah, I walked a lot of people into the church or in full communion with the church. Baptized, confirmed, all that at the Easter Vigil. It was great. Great joy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the last 2 years while I've been in deacon formation, I've been working with RCIA both at St. Luke's and now at St. Brendan's. So walking people through the process. So we're all experienced. Yay!
Yeah, I've been around that. Yeah, it's an exciting process to be part of.
Yeah, what's your favorite part?
I think I can't say that it happens at a specific time. I mean, I love the vigil. I always get emotional with people whenever I see them making their promises and being baptized and just being part of that, especially in their sponsors around them or the team there, that there's just so much excitement. But I think the best part, and I think this is the teacher deep inside of me, is there are times through the process when you kind of see that light of faith come alive in somebody, and it's really exciting. And then they reach out for more. And then I feel like, as the coordinator, I don't know if you had this experience, Father Damien, but it was like, how do I quickly gather everything up and get things to them as quickly as possible, because they're hungry.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I think my favorite part is that oftentimes catechumens and candidates ignite faith in those who are already Catholic, and because they're doing something or preparing to do something for the first time, there's a life, there is an enthusiasm, there is a vigor that sometimes we don't have because we take these things for granted, especially if we've been raised cradle Catholics. So analogously, I think an analogy, it'd be like, I lived in Rome for 3 years, and I walked often there, and we lived 2 blocks from the Trevi Fountain, 5 minutes from the Pantheon. We're 25-minute half-hour walk from the Vatican. And I walked there all the time, and I tried really hard never to take for granted that I'm walking by the Trevi Fountain or the Pantheon or St. Peter's. But when guests would come to town, or especially if they've seen this for the first time, it helps you appreciate more what you have. You know what I mean? And so I think the same is true of converts and catechumens, or catechumens and candidates who come into the church for the first time or come into full communion with the Catholic Church, that so often they're so hungry for the Eucharist or so excited to confess their sins for the first time or to be part of the Mass all the way through and be in full communion that we're sometimes, even as a priest, we're doing this all the time, and we take it for granted. And I think that's one of the great gifts and blessings. It's like new life in a family. Reminds you the gift of life. Like there's someone new here, and it's exciting.
Yeah, we were just talking about this last night at St. Brendan's. As a young man, some of the guys from Ignatius High School also participate in the RCIA process at St. Brendan's. One of the guys last night, we asked people. We said, "Well, is there anything that you're a little nervous about? With the sacraments coming up?" And we guess, guys, I gotta tell you, I'm a little nervous about the Eucharist. He goes, nervous isn't really the right word. And he goes, excited might be closer. He said, but this is a big deal. right? And we all just looked at each other and were like, yeah.
Yeah.
It is a big deal. You're right.
Yeah.
You know?
I had a guy 2 years ago that whenever he was coming into the church and we talked about reception of the Eucharist, he was concerned about what his proper posture should be after. He said, because I think that I'm going to be overtaken with emotion and I don't want to do anything that would be perceived as rude or wrong or whatever. So Christy, what should I do? And this is back in Greensburg, PA, and our posture there after your reception is to come back and kneel and pray. And I said, Rich, you can take all the time you want there with the Lord. I mean, it's a blessed and beautiful time, and I'm excited that you're excited. So it was a really beautiful witness.
One of my favorite, he wasn't because a convert is someone who was not Christian before.
Correct.
So to get the term correct. One of my favorite people who came into full communion with the church, his first name's Brad, and I met him when he was a teenager. We were down a bass player in our music ministry at my first assignment in Hudson, and we had a great guitar player who had a friend he was in a jazz trio with who was a Methodist, and he said, we need a bass player. So we said, well, bring him on, and he could play for Mass. And over time, playing at Mass, he was hearing the music and the preaching and the community, and got interested in the faith, went through RCIA. His nickname in high school was Slug Daddy, because he kind of did everything slow. He was real chill and real cool. Anyway, he had dreadlocks and all this, but he wanted to come into the church, and I was happy to have him, a really artistic kid, really bright guy. And the day he came into the church, I brought him into the church, and I gave him his first communion. He wept because he was so hungry to receive Jesus in the Eucharist for the first time. And I think, wow, how inspiring and how great a reminder it is to me that I receive Eucharist every day. When was the last time I wept when I received Holy Communion? And I thought that was beautiful that he had, you start this process usually around, in the fall, and made his way all the way through and was just longing to receive Jesus in the Eucharist. And when he finally did, he wept. And that was very beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah, when I was in New York at St. Paul the Apostle, they would have this is just population. It's nothing more. We had a large RCIA thing. It wasn't because we were really beating the sticks to get people to convert to the faith. It was really just population, and it's a large parish. And I could just remember we were always invited to gather around the font together as a community and just to be there for folks. And I just remember seeing the looks on people's faces the whole time. Not even once they got into the baptismal font, once they came out. It wasn't even that. It was the whole time that they were there. Just that they were just filled with all of the zeal, and it was just really great to see.
I think too. I've seen with dads too, but mostly moms. When you've got an older kid that's maybe like toddler or like early elementary age before they hit that beautiful age of reason. And that was, for me, my kids were fully received at an Easter Vigil. They were initiated, baptized, confirmed, and then received their first Eucharist. And I also had that experience. So whenever I see the parents having this emotional response to their child being brought into the church, because I think that there's something there about knowing that God gave you this gift of the child and then in a way, giving that child back to God in the waters of baptism is just such an awesome thing. And so being part of that experience as well has been a really cool thing in my experience. So.
Yeah. There was a great RCIA director who was a Jesuit named Bob Collins who worked at St. Paul's in New York. We used to say, this is an inside joke a little bit, but he's a Jesuit with the heart of a Paulist.
What does that mean?
So, a lot of people would say the Paulists are very relatable to people.
Oh, okay.
People really say that they're much more down to earth. That some of the Jesuits are a little highfalutin,
okay.
And they would say that Father Bob was not that way. That Father Bob had the heart of a Paulist, but he was not a Paulist. He was a Jesuit who was living across the street at Fordham, and I could just remember he was one of the calmest people I've ever met, and the whole time when all this liturgy was going, he knew exactly what to do and would lead people through and calm everybody down, and and say, okay, now we're going to do this, and it was just very methodical. He was very good at it. I would always grab him at the end of the thing. I said, so how you feel? And he goes, filled with the joy of the Holy Spirit.
Right.
He would say it every year. It was the same line every year, and I was like, yep, yes, you are.
Yeah, I feel like being a part of it on the Mass, like I got to be like the sort of the MC, and I would say to the people, because they would be like, what if I say the wrong? I would have little cheat sheets for them and all kinds of stuff, but also just to direct them, because the one young priest that I work with had the most beautiful way of saying this to them. I want you to experience this moment and really let God do what God's doing in your heart and be open to that. We'll take care of all the logistics. We'll make sure you're where you need to be. We'll prompt you for the right words. That isn't the important thing. The important is let God encounter you and experience you through this process. So.
And then you've got the week after, usually the next meeting would be the Mystagogia,
Right.
Because you don't want to tell them too much. Like you don't want to give them exact details, because you want them to experience these sacraments and being baptized and being confirmed, receiving communion for the first time. So you want to give them enough so they don't embarrass themselves and know what they're doing. But you don't want to tell them how to experience it, because after, that's how you hear the Holy Spirit at work, through someone's experience of things.
There was a young woman one time who asked me that, Mike, what am I supposed to feel when I receive the Eucharist for the first time? And I said, you feel what you feel. I said, just let yourself be open to whatever you're going to feel when you're there. I can't tell you how to feel. If I tell you how to feel, that would be really presumptive of me as the person working with you. So
and there's that whole unpacking, like Father Damien mentioned, the Mystagogia, like it should take over the rest of your life is what unpacking these graces and this experience is, and how do we live it out and engage with it. So there can be more than just one meeting after the Easter Vigil experience to talk about, what happened here, what's happening in my life, how is God now active and part of everything in a new way that he maybe wasn't exactly before. So
especially if someone's been baptized. So traditionally, baptismal fonts in the Catholic Church are in the shape of an octagon, because the Lord created in 7 days. Then the Lord rose on and created the 8th day of creation. So from now on, this is the day that we're living in, so everything is new. So that first meeting with RCIA, you're kind of unpacking what happened at that Easter Vigil, but for the rest of your life, you're living in the 8th day of creation and unpacking how it is that the Lord is constantly at work in your life.
We are an Easter people.
Yeah,
it's true.
Exactly.
When you mentioned your friend who was a director of or coordinator of RCIA, I'm thinking of one of our priests in the diocese, Father Marty Dober. Last few years, he's had about 30 people come into RCIA, which is uncommon, although it is a bigger parish out there in Mentor. But one of the things that he's done, which I think is brilliant and is worth imitating, is that if he gets a call from someone, like let's say Easter Vigil is this Sunday, and he gets a call from someone later on in the week saying, I'm interested in being Catholic, he doesn't simply say, okay, give me your name and email, I'll put you on the list and we'll contact you in September. He says, come on in, and he starts meeting with them right there. So when the fire is hot, the iron is hot, then you start meeting with that person at that time, because the Spirit's at work. So you don't just take their name and say, we'll call you in September when RCA starts. No, the RCA process starts right there. I think that's really important.
Yeah, it's rolling admissions, essentially. You start when you start, and you end when you end.
Yeah, that's true.
Right?
Yeah.
It's not like the Easter Vigil is graduation and that we're looking for that, from the start of RCIA. This is... No. Well, when are you ready to receive the Easter sacraments? What do you think? What do we think? Right?
Well, and I think
I've been walking with you.
We get confused because the text is laid out in these nice sections of the process, but we're talking about inquiry when a person is just beginning to sort of have these stirrings of faith within them, and they're curious and they want to know. But I think that what I've seen anyway is people are curious for far longer than that first moment that they reach out to the church. They've probably been in or around. They know some people, or there's some connection that's happening for them, and a process that's happening along the way. So that's also the part of the coordinator, is to find out from people, really bring them in and talk with them and get to know them and find out, where have you been hearing about Jesus, and when did you first notice these stirrings, and what experiences have you had? So
this is about freedom. We forget that. You have to give people freedom to be who they are, as they're experiencing this inquiry,
Yeah.
inquire.
Yeah.
This is the time to ask questions.
Yeah.
And, imagine there might be a book where we could actually look up how long inquiry should be. Oh, yeah, we do have one, and it says for as long as it takes,
Yeah, and sometimes someone will start and they say, I'm not ready yet.
Right.
And then you see them 5 years later, I'm ready now.
Right.
So.
And some people have kind of been part of the RCIA group for a long time. Like they keep coming, but they're They're still inquiring. No, not ready yet to go on. But I'm enjoying being with y'all, and I'm learning more. And so I'll let you know. You know.
Yeah,
That's
I think
what works.
the other is that the rites as they're written and soon to be called the Order of Christian Initiation, the text is so beautiful and offers such a wonderful lens into how the process can unfold, and what we're really looking for in those conversions is the only word I really know to use in this process of how people are coming to faith, and it's described here, so it's really helpful to anybody that's leading, coordinating, or participating.
I was down with Bishop Malesic at St. Bernard's in Akron this past weekend. It was the Newman Night. We have 7 Newman programs, ministries in the diocese. And we were sitting at table. I was sitting with the bishop, and 3 of the folks who were at table were coming into the church this Easter Vigil.
Oh, wow.
Their conversion stories were incredible. And it's so fun to hear how the Lord's working. One of the guys was an atheist before. The other one is a philosophy major. So, she and I had a really good chat about things. And then the other one was an evangelical. But to hear how the Lord was working, how he was moving, and there's something that's always surprising about the Holy Spirit. It's usually, that's how a good way you're doing the Lord's work is, I didn't expect to be here. It's very Marian too. I didn't expect the angel Gabriel to come into my room. But you say yes and you move forward. That's really exciting.
Yeah, exactly. So, look, we're heading into the last parts of Holy Week. We took you up to Holy Thursday on our last podcast. So, Good Friday, a day that we remember Jesus' crucifixion and death. You'll see a lot of different things here in this diocese. There's a great procession that our Hispanic community leads.
Yeah, starting at 11 o'clock at St. Michael the Archangel on Clark and Scranton. Then it moves over to St. Coleman on 65th, and it winds up at La Sagrada Familia on 77th and Detroit. So it's about a 3-hour walk. Put on your walking shoes, come out. And I'm sure all your parishes have the Good Friday liturgy, which is the Passion according to John, Veneration of the Cross, and Holy Communion.
Yeah, it's great. And if you have not participated in the Good Friday procession before, highly encouraged. It's really, really great in this diocese. The night before, by the way, just in case you're listening to this before Holy Thursday, station churches. So we've asked 21 churches in the diocese to stay open, and so people can visit the altar of repose and pray our prayer for Eucharistic revival. We'll put all that in our show notes for you. And some folks and we're asking you to go to 7 of them.
Yeah. And if you don't have a place to go, come to St. Wendelin. I have the Mass at 6:30. It's my baptismal parish, and I'm walking to 7 churches from there.
And if you can't get to St. Wendelin's until late, I'll be there at around 10:30, and I'll be doing the closing reflection with a group of young adults who are walking to 7 churches. They asked me to do the reflection on the crowning with thorns, which was the last one.
Oh, cool.
Nice. Maybe we'll see you there. It depends on how the schedule works.
Yeah, exactly.
And then, of course, the Easter Vigil.
Easter Vigil on Saturday, yeah, exactly. Do you bless food, by the way? In
I'm not doing it, but at St. Wendelin they do. So a lot of Eastern European churches have the tradition of blessed food. So I know Wendelin's doing it at 2 o'clock.
St. Brendan's is doing it at 1, which I'll be participating in.
Nice.
For the first time for me doing it.
Yeah, if we could do a whole nother show on this. This is highly controversial, liturgical. Do you use holy water to bless the food? Because the holy water font has not been blessed yet. But if you don't, then people get upset and don't think it counts. So we could do that for another show.
Absolutely. We'll save it.
And what's in the basket? That I think that's a whole thing too.
That's
right.
a whole,
yeah, all the symbols.
Yeah, exactly. And then we just spent a lot of time talking about folks who will be receiving Easter sacraments, but the vigil is it's a lengthy a lengthy evening, shall we say? Sometimes 2-3 hours.
It's so awesome, though.
It's the
People
mother
should check
liturgy
it out.
of the whole church, though.
It does not feel that way, is what I always say.
Oh, true.
You feel invigorated by the end of it, not exhausted by the end of it.
Yeah.
And it is, the whole liturgy is really Holy Thursday, Good Friday, and the Easter Vigil. So this is sort of the conclusion of the 3-day Triduum. So
yeah, and the early Christians would keep that vigil going until the sun came up. That's
right.
when it would end.
Yeah. And that's sort of the idea. The idea is that we're keeping vigil on Holy Saturday all the way, and then the light breaks the darkness, which is why we don't start our Holy Thursday liturgy until after the sun has gone down.
Right. So that the fire is contrasted to the darkness, and so is that candle.
The
right?
symbols
The
of light
Paschal
and darkness. Yeah, you don't want to mess the symbols up. So if you're heading out to your parish, I hope that you can participate in all of those days, the one large liturgy, and then that leads up to, of course, Easter Sunday. So why don't we take a look at a particular church? You were at St. James this Saturday. By the way,
I got soaked before we got into St. James, so we did that 4-church pilgrimage through Lakewood, and it started out. It was a beautiful sunny day, not a cloud in the sky, 62 degrees. And then around 11:43, as we're walking down Detroit Avenue, well, it was already getting dark, and then the rain came.
Ba-boom.
We got soaked. But I told the folks,
Thunderstorm.
this is part of a pilgrimage. It's supposed to be hard. It's not supposed to be easy because it's kind of showing you the Paschal mystery. So there's going to be a Good Friday moment, and there we had it. But, yeah, our last church was St. James, which is modeled after the basilica in Sicily. It's gorgeous, although there's been rain damage in there because there's problems with the roof and this porous sandstone. But it's still a structure to behold. It's beautiful. The windows are gorgeous. Father Workman gave us a little history of the place. And it took 10 years to build the church because it was started in 1925, and then that was in the middle of the Depression, so it didn't finish until 1935.
Right.
But
wow.
a gem of our diocese, for
Absolutely.
sure.
I went to their fish fry the other night, and we were really strongly welcomed by people there. We were really excited. It was good, and good food too. So it was fun. And good news, Father. We know you got rained on between St. Clement's and St. James, but then when you came out of St. James and walked back to St. Luke's, the wind began to dry you off.
Yeah, the wind was at our back all the way down Clifton, but the temperature dropped about 15, 20 degrees. It was cold. My pants were wet, and then they were getting cold. But you're right, I did dry off. And then we came to some hot soup at the McBride Center over there at St. Luke's. So that was a nice way to end the pilgrimage.
Yeah, it was great. So thanks for all those who came out. Thanks for coming out. If you're doing station churches and walking with our pal John Veris from Parma, hopefully we'll see you walking around the Tremont area, visiting 7 churches on Holy Thursday. If you're coming into the church for the first time and making sacraments here at the Easter Vigil, welcome, number one, and we're glad that you're here with us. So, good Lenten season for both of you?
Yeah, really good.
Yeah.
Really good.
Good, yeah. All right, so let's enjoy Holy Week, huh?
Happy Holy Week, everyone.
We're recording this as we head toward the Chrism Mass tonight. So that'll be fun. So we'll have this and a whole lot more next time on Question of Faith. Happy Easter, people.